Uh, RPG a day 2017 and day 10. Okay, let's go and see what we got. Um, where do you go for RPG reviews? And that's a rather simple one because I have only pretty much one source when it comes to RPG reviews online and such, and that's the YouTube. And there's a bunch of different YouTube channels that I tend to follow, but a lot of YouTube channels tend to have a niche of their own. They tend to focus on something that they want to build kind of a channel and a brand behind. You know, some people mainly talk about D&D, some people mainly talk about another RPG that they're a fan of, and so on and so forth. Even though amongst those, there's always sort of internal variety to a large extent. But through that, I've kind of learned to pinpoint a lot of good reviews and good products based on those good reviews. There's hardly any, like I've said before, how how few role-playing games I have on my shelf. There's no spur of the moment kind of the cover art alone selling me on the product, or the manufacturers or the publishers name alone selling the product for me. Just about everything I have on my shelf, apart from maybe the first purchases I ever made, are things that are based on reviews. Like all of my New World of Darkness games are based on reviews, and many others, like the Song of Ice and Fire was based on reviews, and many others like that, and they've all been excellent, and maybe among the reviews that I tend to watch, there are a few who stand out, and I think the one that's influenced the most purchases would be the Gentleman Gamer, and for him, I'm having a Yeti today. And those are who you get that reference. Good on you. Yeah, not only just the New World of Darkness games have been, bought based on his videos, because his channel tends to focus on those kind of games. Not only, World of Darkness, which he's most best known by, I would think, but also there's a lot of stuff, but he mostly tends to focus on kind of mature, serious, kind of dark games that are not so much action adventure, but more something cerebral, something psychological, something akin to thrillers and dramas and such, rather than action adventure. And and based off of that, I've made some good purchases. And when it comes to reviews, I'm not a fan of these kind of rapid fire 2-minute reviews of a product where the kind of end game is whether or not the product is good. And here, let me quickly go through the points of why it's either good or not, or rather whether it's worth buying or not. The thing that I'm looking for is something to give me a hook, something to catch my interest and make my imagination kind of go wild on what I'm hearing and what I'm reading based on the reviews. That's why I mostly like the Gentleman Gamer reviews, because most of his reviews start off with a little prelude of a kind of a dramatic scene description and a little storytelling, because that immediately launches one into this kind of state where they're just like reading an audiobook or listening to an audio drama on the radio or something like that. It immediately makes your creative kind of visual imagination flare up, and all those electric impulses start to rock your brain and all that. And that's great, because when I listen or read a review, what I'm looking for is information about the setting and the world and what makes the game unique, what makes the game something that offers something other games don't, where the thing that makes me want to play a game is the start of point of getting an idea for a story. That I got an idea for a story, I would love to tell that story with players, or tell this character story in a game run by someone else, or something like that. It has to come from that kind of story side. Though there are cases where it's the other way around for me, where I'm purely interested in the mechanic, but those are usually for games where the setting is kind of something pretty vague. You know, for example, superheroes. Unless the superhero setting is something very specific, like there's superhero games that are set in the trenches of World War II and stuff. You know, that's very specific, and again influences a lot of story ideas. But when it comes to, you know, the classical, you know, the generic kind of superhero stuff of, you know, flying through cities wearing capes and stopping supervillains and bank robbers, you know, with that I'm mostly interested in the mechanics, and I was for the longest time looking for a specific mechanic that would lend itself well to superheroes, because a lot of times I kept, you know, hearing things about, you know, superhero mechanics not being that great when it comes to having very original ideas for superpowers and weaknesses and whatnot, and then there being like these, phone book size, you know, giant manuals for games where they would list every single possible superpower mechanic. So, you know, based on reviews, I found myself the DC Adventures game that I've been running on my channel, and I was at first kind of, you know, taken back when I saw the cover. My eyes went to the D20 system. I'm like, oh no! Like, if there's something I don't like about D&D and the D20 system in that, it's the magic system, and immediately made me think that what if superpowers are done the same way, and what if this and that, and immediately negative first impressions based off of that. But after watching reviews, you know, I found out that it's quite different, and it was exactly what I was looking for, and I put the money down and got it, and I was very pleased with what I got. You know, and there's also examples like I'm sure a lot of you know of the Spoony one, who does the Counter Monkey videos, you know, about role-playing games, and he did a long scathing review of D&D 5th edition, and going point by point why it sucks and why it's horrible, you know. And when I watched that review, every single point he made about why it's terrible was a point that for me was a positive. So it was kind of a like, this game sucks because it has this and this thing that you like, you know, kind of thing. So, you know, the reviews can work in a lot of ways, but as long as they're informative, expansive, they take their time, and they really go into what the creators of the game are going for, what the kind of tone of the game is, you know, at least at the get-go, before you go and put your own kind of spin on things, of course, is kind of going for what the what this and that, the other thing, you know, all having to do with crafting a story. And that's, in my eyes, what mechanics are there for, to help you craft a character and craft a story. You know, if the mechanics are you know, going against that, you know, homebrew that stuff, or house rule that stuff, you know. Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, reviews, they need to be expansive and informative and inspire creativity. That's the main important bit when it comes to reviews for me. They need to inspire creativity. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about it. So hope you make some reviews that inspire creativity in others. So yeah, see ya, and let's see each other tomorrow for day 11. Yeah, RPG a day. The Yeti!